Good morning. This is the time and place for the Planning Hearing Officer hearings for Wednesday, February 13th, 2013. My name is Kristen Asp, and I will be conducting the hearing as Planning Hearing Officer. We have three cases on the agenda today, two at the same address, and all relevant exhibits are posted on the panels located directly behind me. As I stated, we have three cases. They are all applications for conditional use permits. And if the evidence presented in the application and at the hearing meets the criteria, the Planning Hearing Officer can either approve or impose conditions for approval on the case in question. If the findings of fact are not evident, then the request will be denied. Public notice. Notification of this hearing was accomplished by the use of public notices which were mailed to property owners and occupants located within 500 feet of the subject property, physically posted on the site in question, placed in the local newspaper, and posted on the city's website. As far as procedures for the hearing, I will read a description of the application or request. I'll note any reports received from other city departments that are relevant, or any other letters of communication from interested parties. I will ask the case planner to then make a brief overview of the case, give any analysis, and make a recommendation. The applicant will then be asked to come forward stating both name and address, and be asked to present the case within a 15-minute time limit. Others in support of or in opposition to the application and interested parties will be asked to come forward to speak, again clearly stating both name and address for the record, and will have 3 minutes to speak. Lastly, the applicant will be given the opportunity to make any closing comments if desired in response to any testimonies given by the preceding speakers, and that will have a 5-minute time limit. The hearing will then be closed and taken under submission. After the hearing, the decision will be prepared in writing and will be in the form of a letter sent to the applicant and to all interested persons who responded to the public notice, either by speaking at today's hearing or by submitting written responses and have provided their name and mailing address. I want to make it very clear that the date of the decision will be the date appearing on the letter, not necessarily the date of this hearing. As far as appeals, under the appeal provisions of the Glendale Municipal Code, the decision may be appealed to the Planning Commission within 15 days of the date of the decision. Again, the date on the letter, not necessarily the date of today's hearing. And notice of appeals shall be filed with the Building and Safety Division located on this floor in MSB 101 of this building. I see some speaker cards, but if you wish to speak, please write your name and address on one of the forms at the front and provide it to planning staff. I'd also like to inform everyone that the official proceedings of the Planning Hearing Officer's hearings are recorded on tape as part of the public record. So, on to the agenda. For the first case, we have conditional use permit case number PCUP 1236349, located at 825 North Central Avenue. It is an application for a conditional use permit to allow the continued sale of beer and wine at an existing gas station, mini mart, a Chevron, for off-site use located at 825 North Central Avenue in the C2 Community Commercial Zone. I will ask the case planner, Kathy Rorty, to make a brief presentation.
Thank you, Hearing Officer Asp. The subject property is located at the southwest corner of Arden and North Central Avenue. It has been used as a gas station since 1967. A mini market with off-site alcohol sales was added in 1996, and a self-service car wash was added in 2006. In 1996, conditional use permit number 9487-CU was approved to allow the sale of alcoholic beverages on the same lot with an automobile service station. Conditional use permit number 1043-CU was approved in 2002 to allow the continued sale of beer and wine at the service station. This expired on November 30th, 2012, and the applicant submitted this application. This establishment has sold beer and wine for over 16 years without adverse impacts. It is not anticipated that the continuation of off-site alcoholic beverage sales will be detrimental to the community. Staff believes that the findings for the conditional use permit can be made and recommend that the request be granted. Comments were submitted by the police department describing the number of businesses that sell alcohol and the number of crimes. However, they did not submit any objections to the request, and we did not receive any other comments. I'd be happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Okay. Thank you. I guess I'd like to open the public hearing, and I have one speaker card, which I'm assuming is the applicant. Come up and tell us a little bit about the case. Is it Adnan?
Adnan, yes, correct. Very good.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Hello. Good morning. Well, as Kathy says, we've been, the location has been as a gas station for 46 years.
Could you state your name and address for the
My
record?
name is Adnan Ayoub, Adnan Ayoub, at 2514 Riada Place in Diamond Bar, California.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So this gas station has been as a gas station for 46 years. The first 22 years, there was only one permit, which is to build the station. Since we took over in 1989, we did changes from applying for a new sign to modifying and replacing the garage into a convenience store. Then with the demand for the services of a convenience store, we asked for a conditional use permit for a beer and wine. And then we added the other service of a car wash to the existing location. And here we are for the third time asking for the continuation of selling beer and wine at this location for hopefully another 10 more years.
Okay. So since we last visited you for consideration of alcohol, you've added a car wash?
Yes.
And how is that? Has that changed any of your clientele? Has that impacted the mini mart at all, or?
It did. It actually had no effect on the beer and wine sale, but it was one of the services that the majority of our customers were asking for, and it was actually a unique service because we're the only one in Glendale at that time with a drive-through self-service car wash combination where you're actually driving your car and the equipment does the wash, as opposed to you getting out of the car and washing your car or going to a full service and having to give them the car and empty the contents and, wait for the car and spend half an hour to 20 minutes to half an hour waiting for your car to be completed. So it was very convenient, and it was give a lot of people the sense that anytime they want, within the time frame that we are open, obviously, because we close at 8, based on the conditional use permit regulations. Right. It was. We hear nothing but good comments about it.
Okay, and I imagine, because it looks like it got added onto the back of the mini mart, did
Yes.
it change the site plan from before it was there, where your parking was located? So has that had any impacts for
Did not.
your customers for adequate parking and your employees?
Yeah, no, there was no parking and behind the building before we constructed the car wash. The parking locations are still on the south and the north side of the gas station, and we did not have to do any additional requirements to comply with the number of parking required for based on the area located. So the
And then just as it's been operating, there hasn't been any issues that you've noticed since the car wash of changes to the existing parking. Everything still seems to be in good working order. People can get in and out of the spaces just fine,
That's right.
even with the addition of the
That's right.
car wash. Okay, so
Right. No adverse effect whatsoever.
Okay.
It actually added to the convenience and the services that we offer as a gas stations. And since we're still the poor side of that neighborhood, where on the other side is nothing but high rises.
Okay. And, I mean, I will just note, and I know Ms. Duarte also commented, we did get just a few comments from the police department. There were two, looks like very minor incidences in the last year or so. And to your knowledge, there were no other issues in
No.
the past 10 years since we've last revisited this?
No. And all I can tell you, those incidences most likely were some people that were coming in from out of town for the weekend and staying at the hotel across the street. So most likely they just wanted to be served at a time where we could not be serving them after midnight.
Okay.
So they were trying to pressure the employee to sell them either beer or wine, and that was probably the cause of the incident.
Okay, and some of the suggested conditions from the police department, you've read
Yes.
those and
Right.
have any?
No, training the
Worked with them, the
employees, we have no
training.
problem.
Okay.
I would recommend, though, that I'm not sure if this is for the city or for the ABC to also educate the customers, because they require us to have to educate the owners, the employees, and the vendors. But there is nothing posted where it says that these are the hours, or it's not even required for the sale of beer and wine. Number one. Number two, it doesn't say anywhere, and most customers don't know that they, by law, cannot be served if they look like they're intoxicated. So maybe a small sign or a small...
That's maybe something you want to consider on
right.
your own.
Sure, yeah, I been thinking about it, but
Okay.
like I said, it's not something that's required, but I think it would help the situation, because most of the time that's where the problem comes in, with someone that had more than enough. But again, it's not something that we encountered every day, because most of the customers we have are mostly residents and or people that work across the street or in the surrounding areas, and most of the people around us are all professional, and they're not in the habit of going back to work.
Let's hope not. Okay, so you have looked at the conditions and,
They have no problem.
okay.
Yes.
Is there anything else you'd like to add? Anything else that I should know?
No, there is nothing you should know. The only thing I would ask, if it's something within your power, to have the extension for 15 years or 20 years. That would be nice.
Okay, I will make a note.
Thank you.
Okay. I have no other speaker cards for this address. If there is nothing else to add, I will take this case under submission, and you'll be hearing from us. Okay. The next two items on the agenda are for conditional use permit, case number PCUP 1236613 for beer and wine, and PCUP 1236624 for an arcade establishment. These applications for two conditional use permits to allow on-site sales, service, and consumption of beer and wine with meals, and a maximum of 12 arcade devices for children at a new full-service restaurant, a Straw Hat Pizza Restaurant, located at 3463 Foothill Boulevard in the CH Commercial Hillside Zone. I will ask the case planner, Mr. Baxter, to give a brief overview. Your mic.
Ms. Asp and members of the community that are present. The project, as you mentioned, is at 3463 Foothill Boulevard, and there are two conditional use permits, one for beer and wine and one for arcade. We have two separate sets of findings, one for beer and wine and one for arcade, but our analysis is just a combination of the two discussions. So I'm not sure if I can combine these, or do you want them to be individually spelled out with each of the findings?
I think we can combine them and
Okay.
separate which ones are for the arcade.
Very good. So I'll combine these two then.
Sure.
So in our analysis, the staff is supporting the conditional use permit for the beer and wine and the arcade devices, and in this case it would be 12. And because we see this as, first, a restaurant is consistent with the general plan, the land use element are allowed. In this case, it'll be a full-service restaurant. They'll be providing a full menu of foods that the applicant has provided the city. The first building on the site was for a restaurant. It was Tilly's Pizza Restaurant back in 1963. Beer was allowed at that time, and it was continued until 1982 from our records, and from 82 to 2006, it was operated as a Shakey's Pizza Restaurant. So there's a long history of pizza restaurants in this location. There was a short period of time between 2007 and 2010 when it was a full-service restaurant, but there were problems, and that place has closed and is not going to be part of this review at all. The circulation element identifies Foothill Boulevard as a major arterial, and this site sits on that, as you can see, both in the plans on the board and also in the overview that I pulled up on the screen. Adjacent to it is Frederick Street, which is also a public street. It is a local street, but there's access both to Foothill and from Frederick Street. There's 36 parking spaces on the site, and we feel that the business is going to be operating as a restaurant, which it has been over its entire life, and as a pizza restaurant for the majority of that time, and we don't feel that continuing that type of activity is going to have any impacts to the city as far as traffic circulation or parking, because it'll be continuing a use that has been around for quite a while historically. A noise element and the noise ordinance address potential noise and nuisance impacts. There will also be conditions of approval should the case be approved. And we feel, so we do not see there being any detriments or negative impacts as a result of those issues. We understand there's some sensitive land uses to the north, residential. Again, historically, this has been a pizza restaurant type facility, and the proposed one is hoping to continue that same type of service, so we don't anticipate there'll be a problem. Because this site and all the sites around it, all the properties around it are fully built out, there is adequate public and private facilities serving this site as well as on the site, such as the parking. The police department had comments, and they noted that in this census tract where they keep track of the number of places that sell alcohol, there are 5 that are establishments that are allowed or recommended for this census tract, and there's only 2, so that's below what the allowable recommendation is. And this particular restaurant location is already has one of those 2, so we're not adding any new alcohol service places. The number of crimes in the area is only 8% above the city average. If we, as you may know, doing other CUP reviews for alcohol, this is actually a very low number, and so we do not anticipate there being any problems there as well. The staff that do licensing within the Community Development Department have noted that because there's more than 5 arcade devices, there's a requirement for licensing of that, but that should not be an issue there as well. Staff doesn't see any problems with the arcade devices being having any negative impacts. Again, the Shakey's Pizza Restaurant from 1982 until 2007 provided both beer, wine, and arcades, so there's a long history of that as well. There were no negative comments, or actually no comments from the other city departments at all, that would indicate there'd be a problem or some issue that would negatively impact the community as it relates to their particular departments. The arcade also is a recognized recreational land use. It's noted that in the zoning code and subject to the conditional use permit, similar to a conditional use permit requirement for alcohol, they will make a determination whether it should be approved or not. Again, the same sorts of issues for the arcades apply to the CUP in terms of noise, traffic circulation, and having negative impacts on its neighbors or growth in the area. As far as both of these uses will be considered ancillary. They will not be self-standing, so there's not going to be a bar. There's not going to be just coming in and playing arcades. These will be land uses that are going to be part of the overall meal experience in which families come in, because that's the clientele the applicant's looking for, to bring families in from the community. When they come in, the primary thing is having a meal, and if they want alcohol, that's what the request would be for here. And if they want to play the arcades, that would be their request. So it wouldn't be for people coming in straight in just to go have a drink or to play arcades only. That pretty much sums up my conclusion, the analysis at this point. The findings are listed here. The applicant's going to go through his findings, and the conditions are attached as well.
Thank you. I guess I will open the public hearing, and I have Chris and Stephanie McReynolds. Who wants to go first? Sure.
Good morning. My name is Chris McReynolds. I live at 2396 Pickens Canyon Road in La Crescenta. I'm here with my wife Stephanie, and we're hoping to establish a new Straw Hat Pizza restaurant at 3463 Foothill Boulevard in La Crescenta. I'd like to share my presentation time with Stephanie for the next few minutes as we address the conditional use issues of our planned video arcade and beer and wine sales, as well as a little bit of our vision for Straw Hat's contribution to the community, if that's okay. I'd be happy to simply read our submitted answers to the conditional use application questions. Since all departments responding to our plan seem to support us, I think it might be a little better to start with an overview of how we see our new restaurant fitting into the Crescenta Valley community and the positive impact we expect to have for the foreseeable future. If that's okay, then we'd be happy to address any questions. First and foremost, we are native to this area. My family has resided in the Montrose La Crescenta area since 1923, so this year we are celebrating our 90th year of residing here. We know our community, its history, its resources, and its issues. We know the history of the building that we have secured for our business. We frequented it when it was Shakey's, and before that when it was Tilly's. We know what an asset having a family-style dine-in restaurant was back then, and how hard it was to lose them when they closed down. And we also know how our most recent predecessors misused their privileges and spitefully treated their neighbors, operating outside of the law, causing unnecessary trouble at all hours of the night until finally losing their opportunity to continue to do business. It should never have happened then, and it must not happen again. That's our pledge, and we're here to detail just how we plan to operate in a much different manner, one that establishes us as a peaceful yet energetic and valuable contributor to the entire Crescenta Valley. Now, our plan is to be primarily a family-style pizzeria. We'd like to be open from 11 a.m. until 10 p.m. on Sunday through Thursday, and until 11 p.m. on Fridays and Saturdays. Very typical restaurant hours, I think. We would serve a lunch buffet from around 11 to 2 and regular menu items after that. In addition to offering a wide variety of pizza choices, we will be operating a new Straw Hat grill concept, where various burgers, appetizers, and pasta dishes will also be served. There will be a number of big screen HD TVs showing various sporting events, and a separate room will be available for private parties such as birthdays, team events, and community and church gatherings. We have applied for a conditional use permit for the purpose of installing a video arcade for our younger guests. Similar to when Shakey's had the building, these games would be targeted for children ages 5 to 12. It is not our desire to become a community after-school hangout for high schoolers. It is our desire to provide a safe and fun environment for families to come and stay a while as they enjoy their mealtime together. Games that promote violence or pseudo-gambling would not be utilized. This is to be an arcade for younger children who have come to have lunch or dinner with their families. Another part of our conditional use permit deals with our plan to serve beer and wine. We have applied for a Type 41 beer and wine license with the ABC. This is a little bit of foreign territory for my wife and me since we do not drink at all, but we also understand that having these items on our menu can enhance the dining experience for many of our guests without necessarily causing problems for the neighborhood. Our license would, of course, dictate that all alcoholic beverages be consumed in the restaurant and that no one would be allowed to bring their own alcohol into Straw Hat. I would once again state that we will not be operating for extended hours such as you would find at a bar, rather closing at either 10 or 11 p.m. depending on the night of the week. Now, there is one staff comment I would like to briefly address, one made by the police department, recommending that we be required to hire a security guard. I would remind them that, one, we are not serving hard liquor at this establishment, beer and wine only. Two, we are a restaurant first, not a bar. Three, we are not open very late at night. Four, we have a very sufficient security camera system in place, 18 cameras. And five, to my knowledge, in La Crescenta, only local banks have security, such security personnel on site. Considering the expense involved in maintaining such services and the residual need to increase prices for our customers, we would ask to be released from that requirement, at least until we prove that we cannot adequately handle security through traditional means. With respect to both of our pending conditional use permits, the arcade and the alcohol sales, it is gratifying to read that staff members writing on behalf of their City of Glendale departments have found that these things would be unlikely to cause any problems within the surrounding community. And as I stated earlier, our long association with the Crescenta Valley neighborhood has made us particularly sensitive to the types of businesses and activities that belong there, and we truly feel that we are filling a need when we aspire to open this new family restaurant. Simply keeping our noses clean is not our goal here. We desire to run the kind of business that residents can recommend as a place where the whole family can have a good meal and a fun, relaxing time together. We're very excited about this new endeavor, and we sincerely hope that the community will be as well. I'd like to allow my wife to fill in some of the blanks with her short presentation now, and then we would be available to answer any questions asked of us after that. Is that okay?
Great.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Stephanie McReynolds, and I live at 2396 Pickens Canyon Road with Chris. I have 5 points that I just wanted to go over. The history, our history in the Crescenta Valley. As Chris mentioned before, we've been here a long time. Chris actually went to the Spar Heights Child Development Center many, many years ago, right here in Montrose. And we both attended elementary school. I went to La Crescenta Elementary. He went to Montrose, on to Rosemont and Crescenta Valley High School. We left our community to venture out to UCLA and returned back to go to work. Chris was manager of Bank of America in La Crescenta. And I decided I wanted to open up a school, and together he left his job and we opened up Montrose Christian Montessori School, which we operated from 1985 to 2010. Our community involvement has been CV Little League. We were very involved in the Little League. I was president for over 10 years. Chris was president. Chris coached a team from before we were married until just 2 years ago. He's been very involved in that. We have been involved in AYSO, Valley Conference, private soccer clubs, All-American football. Chris was the president of the Crescenta Valley Chamber, and we've been involved in our community because we care. It's an important part of what we do. The Straw Hat concept is another history that I think that the community should know about. Straw Hat was founded in 1959, and it was called the Genuine California Pizza because it's a little bit lighter of a pizza than some of the, let's say, thicker or more oily type pizzas, or fresher products, a very big emphasis on vegetables and fresh contents. In our particular area, there was a Straw Hat pizza in Montrose and one in Glendale until the 1980s. And then Pizza Hut took over and bought out some of the restaurants. A few of them co-op together. It made a big surge in Northern California, and it's kind of coming back around. We have a few of them in Southern California, but nothing that's quite like us in this particular area. CV has a history with pizza, the Crescenta Valley. We have had a Straw Hat, we've had Shakey's, we've had Pizza Hut, we've had Round Table, and right now we're down to no restaurants in which you can actually sit in and have a pizza experience as a family. Looking forward, what do we want to do? We would like to see this be a casual dining experience for families. Simple foods, burgers, pizza, salad. We would like the sports theme to be there, for there to be the big game on, so that we could gather in a community that wasn't a sports bar, but that was a family-centered place. We would like it to be a meeting place for families, a large dining area. We'd like it to be a place for kids, that kids can move around. As educators, it's really important to us that we promote something that is healthy and still an educational thing. We would like to have tours for school groups, so that schools groups can come in and see ourselves as a community hangout place. As a contributor, we'd also like to do fundraising for areas for our schools, for the local bands, for community causes that are things that are close to our heart. Also, it's a great place for birthday. We'd like it to be a place where a family can go and casually meet. Our philosophy, how are we going to operate? We operated our school with the idea that kids are supposed to have fun. We want this to be a place where families have fun, but we also want it to be a place where there's rules and things are respected. And so that's an important part of what we have envisioned for our Straw Hat. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. I do have a few questions, and I don't know who wants to field them, but I'll ask a few questions, and then I do have two other speaker cards that that I will get to. I guess just looking at your floor plan, which up there a little bit larger. Your wife mentioned, and you as well mentioned private parties or birthdays. Where do you envision that maybe occurring?
In the on the south east corner, I'm sorry, south. Yes, that's right.
Okay.
Just above that.
Okay.
That is the party. It can be reserved, although it will not be used exclusively for parties. When it's not reserved, it would be used for regular dining.
Okay, and if somebody wanted to have a birthday party without necessarily using that private part, they could
Sure.
use some of the other parts of the.
Yes, there will be some
Restaurant.
booths, and then there will be some tables that you can push together to have a larger gathering.
Okay.
So we have some movable ones, and then there are some fixed booths as well.
Okay, so on to the fixed booth, which
Sure.
is the next question. So I guess I'm reading
Yes, the
this
western wall.
portion as fixed booth.
Correct.
Maybe this big. I'm assuming this is a little
That's
pony
a-
wall or a half wall.
Yeah, that's right. That is a half wall, and then that is a bench seat with those four tables, which are movable, facing the bench seat that's against that wall.
Okay, and all of these are movable.
Correct.
Movable.
That's right.
Movable.
Yes.
Okay, and then this corner is where you envision
That's right.
video games, if you will, of.
Exactly. That seemed to be the best spot to put it, so that children could be a little bit away from the bar area, and yet close enough for the parents to be able to see them and monitor what they're doing.
Okay. And 12 arcade
That's what
devices?
we're
That's the-
requesting. Yeah,
okay.
that seems to be about the right number. That's what Shakey's had before us. It worked pretty well for them. And again, we're trying to have for younger children, those types of games that would be appealing to them.
And you envision televisions and stuff sort of hanging or on the walls for optimum viewing?
Yes, and large. Some of them, very good size. We want it to be the place to go for the big game.
Okay. I guess it was Shakey's before. This is Straw Hat, just to make the distinction,
Right.
And it's going to offer a little bit more in terms of just sort of the pizza and salad bar. You mentioned,
Yeah.
and I read a little bit about a grill concept. So this
Right.
contributes maybe to the overall full service dining experience that this is
Well, we'd like to think so.
going
and
for.
we do desire to encourage people to come back more than once a week, and so to expand the menu in this way by offering burgers and other types of sandwiches and some pasta dishes, we think that we're doing that.
Okay. Any other thoughts on the, that you'd care to share before you can come back?
Yeah, I'd be happy to come back if I need to respond, but I thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you. I have two other speaker cards. Maria Klein? And then Jean?
Hey, good morning. My
Morning.
name is Maria Klein. I live at 3516 Fairesta, which is right around the corner from the proposed Straw Hat. And I think I'm probably going to echo a lot of what the applicants are saying here. So we're a neighbor and property owner, and we are overwhelmingly in favor of the Straw Hat going in. We've been without a facility like this in the area since Shakey's closed. I am also representing the youth baseball and softball organization in La Crescenta, of which my husband is president of, which is CSA. And we have over 450 children in the program that make up over 40 teams. And Shakey's was the gathering spot for years when my kids were small for after-game pizza, and all the end-of-season parties were all there. They were all at Shakey's. So it was very, very disappointing when it went away. The next facility that we use is Round Table, which is on the other side of La Cañada. And as another note, I'd like to say, as a substitute teacher in Glendale Unified and in La Cañada, restaurants of this type, of this particular type, are so needed in communities, and especially in La Crescenta. My youngest child right now is in CV High School, and he's always saying there's so few places to go to, and everybody is going to people's houses where there's probably not supervision and there's drinking going on. So these kids, especially the responsible older teens, are looking for a place to watch the game, rather than maybe being at home, but being with their friends. This is a great place. This is huge. This is really huge to have this back in the community. So I just want to say that we're really glad that someone is trying to create a fun setting in the community that's badly needed. Thank you.
Thank you. Last speaker card, Jean Maluccio.
I'm Jean Maluccio. I'm representing the Crescenta Valley Chamber of Commerce, and I also was on the North Glendale Advisory Committee for when we were trying to see what we can do up in the area. I did go through the 20-page report, and I couldn't find any reason for this place not to open with the 2 CUPs. I'm not sure that I agree that there's any kind of security needed there. As they state, generally it's at the banks, and normally we don't have this kind of a problem with any of our places like that. Prior to being on the committee for North Glendale, we went for over a year trying to find restaurants to come up here. Our town is begging for places to eat at. We wanted family restaurants. We tried getting some up there. A lot of them want to be in a mall. Others say, well, we're up against a mountain. Well, we have 30,000 people on this side of the mountain who are still looking for a place to eat. So I think that we can support this restaurant, and we really look forward to them opening soon. Thank you.
Thank you. I have no additional questions, but if the applicant wanted to come up and have any other closing comments, I would offer that to you. Not required, but...
Okay, well, just thank you so much for hearing our case. I certainly appreciate the comments made on our behalf from the community as well. So,
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. On that note, I will officially close this hearing and this meeting. Thank you all for coming. We are done.